This is our last day of a 12-day trip to Andalucía we took this past May. We woke up extra early today as we had planned to hike the Caminito del Rey. We were super excited for this activity as we had heard so much about it, and it definitely lived up to the hype. We booked individual tickets for 9 a.m, so not as part of a tour guide, and in our experience, you really don't need a tour for this. You should plan to arrive 1 hour before the hike starts. This is because you have to take a shuttle bus from the reception center to the actual starting point of the hike, and the drive there can take a bit longer as it is a one-lane highway. Make sure you bring cash for the shuttle and keep your ticket as you can use it again on the way back after the hike. There are areas where you can grab food and coffee before the hike, but it's best to bring water and some snacks in either a crossbody bag or a small backpack. You're given a safety demo before starting, and you have to wear a hard hat throughout the hike as there's risk of falling rock. And this was definitely true as we did experience on a few occasions small rock fragments shooting down onto the path. This is an aerial trail built into the side of a 700-meter deep gorge that spans 7.7 kilometers. You start and end with the cliff trails, and about a third of the hike in the middle is on solid ground going through a more mountainous forest landscape. The views are absolutely vast, sweeping, stunning vistas the whole way through. If you're gonna do any day trip from Malaga, this should be it. The hike itself is pretty easy. It's pretty much flat all the way through with the exception of some stairs at the very end. I have a pretty big fear of heights, but I found this to be really not that bad at all. The cliff trails are all made of wooden planks, but they're very sturdy and they don't have any gaps in between them. The worst part for me were these stairs that you had to walk up and down at the very end just because the actual steps were very narrow and steep, so you couldn't even really put your whole foot on them and you could see right through them. There is also one suspension bridge at the very end before these steps, which also has a metal grid floor that is completely see-through. There's a guide positioned here for safety, and he was seriously so nice. He could tell that I was nervous, so he made everyone clear off the bridge for me so that I could walk on it alone and not feel as much of the flex of the bridge, and I was super grateful for that. After you finish the hike, you're brought into the outskirts of the town El Chorro, and this is where it gets a bit confusing. You have to take a shuttle back to the parking lot, but the bus station is a local station of this town, so it has many different buses that go to many different places, and there isn't a one exclusive shuttle service operated by Caminito del Rey. So you just have to ask the bus drivers to make sure you're getting on the right shuttle and also to the right parking lot, as there are different access points of the trails that they can go to. On our way back to our hotel, we decided to stop at Castillo de Colomares. This is a monument dedicated to Christopher Columbus in the form of a wacky, eccentric miniature castle. This was seriously the cutest thing. It felt like a dollhouse playground, like they took a huge castle and shrunk it. Everything was miniaturized and you could climb up all the spires, and it makes you just feel like a giant. It has representations of all the ships Columbus used on his voyages, as well as the smallest church in the world, and it's perched on the edge of a cliff with gorgeous views onto the Mediterranean. I definitely recommend making a stop here, especially if you're with kids. This was so unique, only cost €3, and it's just a 20-minute drive from Malaga. The drive there is a bit sketchy. The roads leading to it had some of the steepest inclines and sharpest turns, and the parking situation is a bit of a free-for-all. There's basically 2 ditches that you can park in, and when we arrived, both were packed, so we had to squeeze ourselves in anywhere we could. But it does seem like it has a pretty quick turnaround, as when we left 30 minutes later, half of both the lots had completely emptied out. So that concludes our trip to Andalusia. We called it a day after that. We had an early morning flight back home the next day, so we got back to our hotel pretty early to pack and went to give in our rental car. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for following along. I hope you found the information in these videos helpful.